The courtroom was a chamber of hushed anticipation, the air thick with the accumulated weight of days filled with unsettling revelations. Jurors had already been visibly shaken, the legal teams were on edge, and the gallery seemed to hold its breath with every witness. No one, it seemed, could have possibly prepared themselves for the moment the doors opened and an unexpected figure walked in, drawing every eye. Kanye West, dressed in a stark black suit, a figure instantly recognizable across the globe. As he approached the witness stand, he removed his sunglasses, revealing eyes that held a mixture of trepidation, his hands reportedly trembling slightly, and an intense, focused determination. Yet, when he began to speak, his voice was not hesitant or shaky. It was steady, deliberate, cutting through the silence with a force that commanded attention. "I'm not here to talk about music," he stated, his gaze unwavering, directed straight ahead, not seemingly at any one person, but at the gravity of the moment itself. "I'm here to talk about murder." A collective audible gasp reportedly swept through the courtroom. The judge's gavel slammed down, echoing in the sudden stillness, demanding order, but the tension refused to subside. It seemed to physically manifest, pressing down on everyone present. This wasn't an artistic metaphor, not a hyperbolic statement from a celebrity known for bold pronouncements. This was, as presented in this account, a direct alleged accusation, delivered under oath in a federal court. Kanye West claimed that Diddy Combs wasn't merely one of the most powerful figures in the music industry. He was, Kanye alleged, connected to the mysterious and tragic passing of the king of pop, Michael Jackson. He wasn't speaking in generalities, he was alleging a direct link, claiming Diddy was part of a hidden power network, one he believed may have orchestrated Jackson's downfall. This wasn't mere speculation whispered backstage. It was, as the account describes, a warning, a claim laid bare in the most serious of settings. Kanye's testimony immediately zeroed in on a figure who, while known in certain circles, rarely appeared in mainstream headlines: Fahim Muhammad. According to Kanye, this man, who was reportedly Diddy's current head of security at the time of the alleged testimony, held a chilling, controversial dual role. He had also, Kanye claimed, been specifically placed in charge of Michael Jackson's safety during the vulnerable final months of his life. Kanye wasn't just making an assertion, he was detailing alleged facts about Fahim's background and placement that, in his view, painted a deeply disturbing picture. He challenged the conventional narrative with a pointed question to the jury. Why, he asked, would Michael Jackson, arguably the most famous and targeted man on earth, a figure constantly surrounded by seasoned security professionals, entrust his life and safety to a man barely out of college? At the time, Fahim Muhammad was allegedly hired for Jackson's security detail. He was, according to Kanye, a young man in his early 20s, having just graduated from Sacramento State. Yet within a matter of months, he was reportedly positioned in a key protective role for the world's biggest celebrity. The circumstances of his hiring were also, Kanye highlighted, incredibly strange. Fahim was allegedly not selected by Jackson himself, a stark deviation from how Michael typically chose his inner circle. Instead, testimony from the 2011 Conrad Murray trial reportedly revealed that Fahim was introduced to Jackson through unspecified industry connections. And those specific connections, Kanye testified, traced directly back to Diddy's sphere of influence. Kanye claimed that Fahim Muhammad had allegedly been working for Diddy in various capacities, perhaps even unofficially, for some time before being placed with Michael. His role in Jackson's security wasn't, in Kanye's interpretation, primarily about providing protection. It was, he alleged, about establishing control and surveillance from within. He told the jury that Fahim reportedly gained unfettered access to Michael's most private world, his daily schedule, his medical prescriptions, his staff, and perhaps most critically, access to his state of mind, his growing paranoia, and his deepest fears. Kanye then introduced another detail about Fahim Muhammad, one he insisted was a glaring red flag. Fahim had reportedly been a guest speaker at the prestigious Wharton School. Kanye didn't leave the jury to connect the dots themselves. He explicitly leaned into the implication, stating that institutions like Wharton allegedly have long-standing, intricate relationships with entities like military intelligence. He stopped short of outright calling Fahim an intelligence operative, but he posed the question again, forcing the jury to consider the unusual nature of this bodyguard. What kind of bodyguard speaks at Wharton? He answered his own question with deliberate emphasis. Not one who carries a gun, one who carries a mission. Then came the moment that reportedly sent a collective shockwave through everyone in the courtroom, a moment so heavy with potentials, implication that it silenced the already hushed room. Kanye claimed he had heard Michael Jackson's final voicemail. He alleged the Jackson family had played it for him in confidence, a piece of audio that had reportedly never been made public. And it wasn't just a message. It was, as Kanye described it, a raw, terrifying sound recording that captured Michael's alleged state of mind in his final days. In the recording, Michael allegedly sounded panicked, his breathing heavy and audible, his voice reduced to a whisper, as if acutely aware that someone might be listening to the call itself. The culmination of this alleged message, as recounted by Kanye on the stand, was a plea that reportedly froze the gallery. The last line, according to Kanye, chillingly stated, "Tell them it's Puffy. He knows he's here. Please protect the kids." Jurors were reportedly seen looking visibly horrified. Diddy, according to accounts, was gripping the edge of the defense table, his lawyers leaning in, whispering urgently in his ear. Kanye, his voice steady, simply repeated the most damning part of the message Michael knew. This wasn't presented as speculation. It was, as the account describes, an alleged final communication directly linking Michael Jackson's fear to the name Puffy. This chilling alleged voicemail wasn't just a standalone piece of evidence in Kanye's testimony. He immediately connected it to a broader, deeply personal theory he had hinted at for years but never articulated with such directness in a public legal setting: the concept of handlers. These, he claimed, were shadowy figures allegedly placed in the lives of powerful celebrities, not for genuine support or management, but specifically to control, manipulate, and ultimately silence them if they deviated from a prescribed path. He drew a direct line from the alleged situation surrounding Michael Jackson to his own experiences, naming his former trainer Harley Pasternak as his alleged handler. He recounted a specific threatening text message he allegedly received, one from Harley, warning him to comply with instructions or be sent back to zombie land, a term Kanye used to describe forced hospitalization or institutionalization. "That man threatened to lock me up in a psych ward for not behaving," Kanye told the jury, his voice gaining a noticeable edge of anger and frustration. He looked directly into the eyes of the jurors and posed the stark question: what do you think happens to people who don't play along? He then drew a direct, chilling parallel between Harley Pasternak and Fahim Muhammad, two different alleged handlers, attached to two different global artists, but with, Kanye claimed, one shared, insidious goal: control and containment. According to Kanye, Michael Jackson was allegedly given his own version of a Harley, a handler placed intimately within his life. Except this one, he alleged, wasn't just threatening to medicate him or force him into institutional care. This one, he claimed, had the keys to Michael's house, access to his medicine cabinet, control over who came and went, and potentially influence over his very fate. Kanye meticulously laid out what he saw as a clear, repeating pattern. Michael gains unprecedented power within the industry, partially by securing ownership of a significant portion of Sony's music catalog. He begins to challenge powerful figures like Tommy Mottola and speaks out against perceived industry injustices, even protesting publicly. Then, suddenly, the public narrative around him shifts dramatically. He is depicted as increasingly frail, dependent, heavily medicated, and unstable. And ultimately, he passes away, with a figure allegedly placed by industry connections, Fahim Muhammad, in charge of his security detail. Kanye then overlaid his own recent experiences onto this alleged pattern, creating a stark, modern comparison. He rises to global fame and influence, using his platform to challenge major corporations like Adidas, speak out against established institutions like the Grammys, and criticize powerful brands like Balenciaga. He confronts influential figures within the industry, even at times figures as prominent as Jay-Z. He refuses, like Michael allegedly did in his final years, to simply fall neatly in line and obey perceived industry directives. And suddenly, Kanye testified he is facing direct threats of being sent back to zombie land, dealing with forced hospitalizations, experiencing devastating financial losses as major deals are terminated. He saw himself becoming, in his own stark words, a modern-day Michael. The comparison was presented as a chillingly consistent response from a powerful system allegedly designed to control and silence its most successful, and therefore potentially most dangerous artists. But Kanye wasn't finished outlining the alleged pattern or the mechanisms of control. He shifted the focus to what he believed was the ultimate motive behind such drastic alleged actions: money. He argued the financial stakes surrounding Michael Jackson were almost unfathomably high. Michael was reportedly worth billions in publishing, rights alone, a fortune tied directly to his vast catalog of songs. His planned comeback tour, the This Is It residency in London, was not just another concert series. It was poised to be a global phenomenon, a financial juggernaut expected to shatter box office records worldwide. And then there was that catalog, the legendary collection of music copyrights, the core of Michael's financial empire. Kanye added, his voice taking on a somber, weighted tone. That catalog is worth killing for. He introduced a theory that reportedly sent another tremor of shock through the room, suggesting the tragedy wasn't a simple medical accident. What if, Kanye posited, Michael wasn't simply meant to tragically OD from medication? What if he speculated he was being prepared for something else, something that required him to be incapacitated, compliant, or controlled, and the alleged plan went terribly wrong? What if, in that crucial moment, under immense pressure, someone panicked and administered too much, too soon, leading to the fatal outcome? He closed this portion of his testimony with a single, devastatingly blunt line: Michael's passing was the cleanest business move Sony ever made. This accusation reframed the entire narrative around Michael's death, presenting it not just as a personal tragedy or medical failure, but as a calculated, highly profitable event for certain powerful entities within the industry. The weight of Kanye's words didn't stop with the specific allegations surrounding Michael Jackson's final days. He claimed this wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a much broader, deeply unsettling pattern that he alleged had haunted the music industry for decades. In a section of his testimony that reportedly felt like a somber, even heartbreaking roll call, Kanye listed other artists who he claimed had tried to fight the system, who had reached levels of power or spoken truths that made them dangerous to the established order, and who ended up silenced, either in death or professional ruin. Whitney Houston, DMX, Prince, Amy Winehouse, Lisa Left Eye Lopes. He recited their names, pausing briefly between each one, imbuing the list with a sense of loss and alleged injustice. Each one tried to break free, he stated, his voice low. Each one tried to speak truth, and each one is gone. He spoke of Prince, the legendary artist who had famously battled Warner Brothers for ownership of his music masters, appearing with the word slave written on his face, and who reportedly warned other artists about the dangers of signing away control through predatory contracts and labels. Prince was tragically found unresponsive in an elevator alone after reportedly confiding in friends that he feared someone was trying to silence him. Kanye recounted Prince's strange final public appearances where he allegedly spoke cryptically about mortality, feeling watched, and foreseeing his own end. Then came Whitney Houston, the voice of a generation. Kanye claimed she had once confided in Clive Davis, the music mogul, stating she knew too much, especially, Kanye alleged, about certain disturbing and illicit freak parties that he claimed had direct or indirect links to Diddy's inner circle. Her widely publicized erratic final days, Kanye argued, weren't simply the result of personal struggles. They were allegedly part of a deliberate narrative manufactured by the system to paint her as unstable and discredit anything she might potentially reveal. They paint you crazy so they don't have to explain your death, he stated, the words hanging heavy in the air. He referenced Lisa Left Eye Lopes of TLC, who tragically died in a car accident in Honduras in 2002. Days before her passing, she reportedly recorded a video saying she was being followed, that spirits were warning her. You know what she said in that video? Kanye asked the jury, his voice raw with emotion. She said she was being hunted, and her car went off a road with no barriers. Kanye insisted these weren't isolated, tragic coincidences or simple accidents. He alleged they were part of a pattern, coordinated purges, systematic eliminations, or marginalizations of non-compliant artists who became liabilities to the system. When you stop being useful to the machine, or you speak out against it, or you gain too much power by owning your work, you become a liability, he told the court, articulating the alleged motive behind this grim pattern. He named one more artist, whose untimely death remains unsolved and a source of ongoing speculation, Biggie Smalls, the notorious B.I.G. You think it's a coincidence that Biggie's death remains unsolved? He challenged, looking towards the defense table. Or that the only one left from that circle standing tall, more powerful than ever, is Diddy, Sean Diddy Combs? According to Kanye, the Diddy brand itself, the very public image of success and influence, was not just a music label, not just a name on an album cover or a fashion line. It was, he alleged, the carefully constructed front for something far more insidious, an infrastructure built on power, leverage, and absolute control. He referenced the disturbing details emerging from the Lil Rod lawsuit, which alleged Diddy orchestrated parties involving SX trafficking, DGs, and bribery. But Kanye told the jury that these sensational public accusations were merely the surface level of the alleged operation. The real power, he claimed, was vested in influence, in control over key figures, and in the alleged systematic elimination of threats. He claimed Diddy maintained intricate hidden ties with top industry executives, influential politicians, and even, he alleged, former intelligence agents. This is why people disappear, Kanye alleged, his voice gaining intensity. This is why lawsuits vanish. You can't fight this with a standard lawyer in a standard court. He paused, then stated, "You fight it with a spotlight." He cited the federal raids on Diddy's homes, claiming that not all the footage seized during those high-profile events was revealed to the public. "I've seen parts of it," Kanye alleged, his statement hanging heavy in the air. Tunnels, documents, names. Some of those names, he claimed, were still prominent figures, walking free, holding positions of power in the industry. Some of them ran major companies, and, he added, his gaze sweeping towards the defense table, some of them sit in this courtroom right now. He described in more detail what he called the pyramid, a sprawling, insidious network comprised of seemingly disparate individuals, personal assistants, stylists, producers, trainers, bodyguards, lawyers, all allegedly serving a central chilling purpose, maintaining silence and perpetual surveillance over the artists within their orbit. You're not allowed to leave the network. You're not allowed to talk about what you see or hear. And if you do, you'll never work in this industry again, or worse, Kanye alleged, implying the threats went far beyond career sabotage. And then came what felt like the final devastating blow of this part of his testimony. He returned with a renewed focus to the figure he had introduced at the very beginning, Fahim Muhammad. Kanye alleged Fahim was not just a bodyguard or a security chief, he was the alleged enforcer of this network. He's the one who makes the calls, Kanye claimed, who clears the phones, who tells you to shut up or sell a pee forever. And then, the chilling repetition, linking past and present with undeniable force. Fahim was there when Michael passed. Fahim is here now, working for Diddy. What changed? He brought up again the alleged disappearance of security camera footage from Michael's mansion on the night of his passing. The very house that was supposed to be locked down with surveillance, a fortress of cameras, allegedly had its system fail. The footage wiped clean. Just like in the Diddy tunnel, Kanye reportedly stated, drawing a direct damning parallel between the alleged events surrounding Michael's death and recent controversies involving Diddy's properties. Footage disappeared in both instances, incidents tied together, Kanye alleged, by the presence of the same key figure, the alleged enforcer Fahim Muhammad. Rumors that Fahim allegedly helped clear hard drives and erase security footage from Michael's mansion after his death were recounted, adding another layer to the accusation of a deliberate cover-up. Kanye ended this segment with devastating clarity. The industry didn't just cause Michael's death, it turned his passing into a business model, and that model is still in effect, as Kanye West delivered these alleged accusations in open court. The room was reportedly submerged in a stunned, heavy silence. His claims were presented not as vague conspiracy theories, but as direct, specific, and utterly damning allegations supported by alleged details and connections. Diddy reportedly sat motionless at the defense table, his public facade of composure under extreme pressure, but observers watching closely saw the cracks forming. His jaw reportedly clenched visibly, his fingers twitched against the table edge, and he was seen leaning in to whisper furiously, urgently, to his legal team. Something profound had reportedly shifted. Diddy's carefully crafted control was allegedly slipping. Kanye's words weren't just testimony, they were described as lightning bolts, striking at the very foundation of the defense's position. At one point, according to accounts, Kanye locked eyes with Diddy across the courtroom and said slowly, deliberately, his voice clear and resonant, "You know what you did to him. You watched the king fall." The immediate reaction was an explosion of murmurs and gasps from the gallery. The judge frantically struck the gavel for order, the sound sharp against the sudden noise. Reporters in the room were reportedly in a frenzy, buzzing, whispering into phones, typing furiously, documenting every detail as if witnessing a pivotal moment in history unfolding live before them. According to multiple court sketch artists and legal observers present, Diddy visibly shook his head in response to Kanye's statements, but he reportedly did not scream out, did not make a forceful, audible denial from his seat. He simply looked, observers noted, like a man who had been caught, cornered, his power momentarily neutralized by the weight of the accusations. One journalist from Rolling Stone reportedly tweeted, capturing the moment's impact, "Diddy's face went blank like he wasn't in control anymore." Kanye flipped the entire courtroom narrative with that one line. Kanye continued, drawing on alleged past conversations with Michael Jackson. He testified that Michael had confided in him, saying he was scared, that people were following him, that he felt like someone inside his own home, within his most intimate circle, was planning against him. Michael never specifically named Diddy. Back then, Kanye admitted, providing a detail that lent a degree of credibility to his account. But the description Michael allegedly gave of the person he didn't trust, the one who was young, calm, and always watching from within his own home, reportedly matched the description and alleged role of Fahim Muhammad, someone importantly that Michael never hired himself, someone he allegedly inherently distrusted despite their position of proximity and authority. This part of Kanye's alleged testimony reportedly felt less like a performance and more like a man unburdening himself of a heavy truth he claimed to have carried for years. "I'm not here to entertain," Kanye stated again, his voice firm, addressing the possibility that his appearance might be viewed cynically. "I'm here because a man tragically passed away and another man allegedly got rich from it." That final accusation, interpreted by many as a veiled reference to Diddy's reported strategic music catalog acquisitions post-2010 and the vast fortune he built, partly Kanye implied, from the vacuum and fallout left by MJ's passing, sent a new wave of shock through the industry observers present. It wasn't just the dollar amount, it was the stark alleged motive presented. Michael Jackson was, in this narrative, more valuable gone than alive to certain powerful interests, and someone allegedly ensured that transition happened with chilling precision. The impact of Kanye's alleged testimony didn't remain contained within the walls of that federal courtroom. The moment it was live-streamed, tweeted, and reported by the press in real time, a media firestorm of unprecedented scale erupted across the globe. Every major news outlet, from cable news giants to entertainment news websites, ran explosive headlines. Kanye West says Diddy had Michael Jackson killed. Courtroom chaos as Kanye accuses Diddy of orchestrating MJ's passing. But perhaps the most significant development, the one that truly made the world stop and pay attention, was the alleged powerful response from Michael Jackson's own family. Jermaine Jackson reportedly posted an emotional message on Instagram, stating, "Kanye said what we couldn't say for 15 years. My brother was martyred and the industry knows it." LaToya Jackson allegedly issued a statement via her attorney, echoing the sentiment. "I've said it before. Michael didn't tragically OD, he passed because someone wanted him silenced. We're now ready to speak under oath." The family, long bound by discretion and perhaps fear, seemed emboldened, reportedly confirming the long-held private suspicions. And then, adding further fuel to the fire, allegedly came leaked internal emails purportedly obtained by an anonymous whistleblower from AEG Live, the promoter of Michael's planned This Is It residency. These emails allegedly suggested that high-level executives at AEG were aware Michael was physically and mentally unfit for the grueling demands of the planned tour, but made the decision to proceed anyway, driven by the immense financial investment and potential profits. One particularly chilling email reportedly read, capturing the alleged ruthless prioritization of profit over the artist's well-being. "He doesn't need to be well. He just needs to make it through opening night." Kanye's testimony, combined with these alleged external developments, seem to have opened a vault of suppressed information, long-held suspicions, and uncomfortable truths about the pressures Michael faced in his final months. Even former Jackson staff members, emboldened by the sudden shift in the public narrative and the family's alleged statements, reportedly began contacting the court and media outlets, offering to testify. One former staffer allegedly claimed they saw unfamiliar security men inside Michael's home the night before he passed, individuals they didn't recognize from his regular detail. Another reportedly said Michael had grown so paranoid in his final weeks that he would sleep with loud music blasting in his room to drown out voices he suspected were being piped in through the walls by those watching him. Meanwhile, legal experts and commentators on cable news panels and podcasts began revisiting the role of Fahim Muhammad with a new critical lens, openly questioning why his presence and connections weren't scrutinized more thoroughly during the Conrad Murray trial. We missed something fundamental. A retired detective who had worked on the original 2009 Jackson case was reportedly quoted as saying, his words reflecting a growing unease in the law enforcement community. This wasn't just bad medicine. Based on these allegations and the family's response, this may have been a deliberate setup. Every major news station dedicated extensive segments to the unfolding drama, analyzing Kanye's testimony, the family's reaction, and the implications. Some commentators, adhering to a skeptical line, dismissed Kanye's claims as unsubstantiated. Conspiracy theories, citing his history of controversial public statements and past mental health struggles. Others, however, dissected his testimony line by line, focusing on the specific details, the alleged connections, and the chilling moments, particularly the moment he allegedly looked at the camera or the gallery and said, "They're still watching us." Public opinion, especially online, reportedly shifted rapidly. Kanye wasn't just trending for his music or his usual controversial pronouncements. He was trending because he had allegedly given voice to a dark suspicion that many people, both inside and outside the industry, had feared was true all along. As the court recessed following Kanye's testimony, the atmosphere inside the courthouse was reportedly electric, charged with the feeling that something profoundly significant had just occurred. Security was reportedly increased around the courthouse. Reporters scrambled frantically to confirm the Jackson family's rumored intentions to seek formal subpoenas. To testify under oath, the judge reportedly called an emergency meeting with both the prosecution and defense teams, presumably to address the unprecedented gravity and potential impact of the accusations that had just been entered into the official court record. The case against Diddy, observers agreed, had allegedly been fundamentally altered, taking a potentially historic turn that expanded its scope far beyond the initial charges. Diddy's defense team reportedly attempted damage control in statements to the press, trying to downplay Kanye's words, calling them irrelevant, the unverified personal delusions of someone known for erratic public behavior. But the public narrative, fueled by the alleged family statements and the sudden rush of new corroborating details emerging from former staff and alleged leaked documents, wasn't easily buying the simple dismissal. Social media platforms exploded, with clips of Kanye on the stand, particularly the moment he reportedly said, with apparent conviction, "They want to call me crazy, but I'm just the only one telling the truth." Behind the scenes, reports surfaced from legal sources that prosecutors were reportedly re-evaluating their entire strategy, reconsidering witness lists, and exploring new avenues of investigation spurred by the alleged testimony. Fahim Muhammad, who had remained a relatively low-profile figure since Michael Jackson's passing despite his controversial connection, was now reportedly a name being circulated with urgency within legal and investigative circles as a key figure of interest. Rumors swirled that federal investigators, spurred by the seriousness of the claims and the potential corroborating information, were potentially revisiting closed Jackson files, especially in light of the resurfaced alleged voicemail and the new testimonies reportedly being offered by former members of Michael's staff. Perhaps the most poignant and heartbreaking development in the wake of Kanye's testimony came from Michael's own children, who had lived with the public narrative of their father's passing for years while allegedly holding private suspicions. One insider reportedly claimed that Paris Jackson, Michael's daughter, had privately confided in close friends that she believed her father's passing wasn't an accident, but something more deliberate, something orchestrated. Prince Jackson, Michael's eldest son, reportedly wrote a now-deleted tweet that resonated deeply with those who saw it, a simple but powerful statement: "My father feared the industry, and now I understand why." The trial, which had begun as a case focused squarely on Diddy's alleged actions, had suddenly expanded, potentially transforming into something much larger, a potential referendum on the music industry itself, its alleged dark underbelly, its long-held secrets, its historical ghosts, and its alleged insatiable hunger for power and control over the very artists who were its lifeblood. And Kanye West, a figure often dismissed, controversial, and at times ridiculed, had, according to this dramatic account, potentially placed himself squarely at the center of a potential reckoning, a moment where long-buried truths might finally see the light. The final, lingering question, hanging heavy in the air like the charged silence that followed Kanye's initial words, echoing from the courtroom whispers to global headlines. Will this alleged testimony, these shocking accusations, this alleged voice from the past confirming the family's fears, finally change anything? Because if Kanye's claims as presented in this dramatic narrative hold any weight, if Diddy played even a part, however large or small, in allegedly orchestrating the isolation, the downfall, and ultimately the passing of the greatest entertainer who ever lived, then this isn't just a high-profile celebrity trial, it's the potential start of an earthquake that could shake the very foundations of the music world to its core, potentially exposing a pattern of alleged control and harm that has gone unchecked for decades.